As somebody who's just watching impartially, I'm just watching in like awe of what this guy's doing. You're like, well, surely we've seen the best of it. And then he shows up in game 6 with a 50, 14, and 5 stat line. It just felt like this needs to be coronated. This needs to be celebrated some sort of way. I'm going to write a book about basketball feelings and not include this exact moment.
Five-time All-Star Marques Johnson.
Alongside Marques Johnson.
What's up, everybody? Hey, this is the Here District, captain of this vessel. And I got my first mate, my number one son, Khris Johnson.
What up? Talk to me.
Holla.
Let it rain, man. Let it rain.
I guess I go, guess what? We're going back to teach on Friday.
Yeah. You can't pass us all the breakfast.
Can't pass us all the breakfast.
Go fight. Welcome, everybody, to the Here District. Marques Johnson.
You're listening to a Bucks Plus audio production on the Bucks Plus Network.
Your weekly pulse on the Milwaukee Bucks, straight from a Bucks legend. This is Here District with Marques Johnson, alongside his son and 1995 NCAA champion, Kris. Here's MJ.
All right, welcome, everybody. Here District, the fantastic voyage. I am the captain of this vessel on the road again with the Milwaukee Bucks, Marques Johnson, joined by my son, Khris Johnson, the only father and son duo to win a national championship at the same school. And you'll be hearing a lot more about that as the broadcast goes on and as the season goes on. Khris, how you living? How things going?
Oh, I'm doing good, MJ. Bucks got to win. Feeling good out here. If the people want to listen to us, find us, you can subscribe to the Bucks official YouTube channel. Leave us a like or a comment there. Or subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah. Please do that and leave us those likes and check us out because, man, things are heating up. Things are heating up come winter time. After this segment, don't go anywhere. We got a great interview coming up in the next segment, Shea Serrano. Now, you talk about a guy who has accomplished a lot as a writer. He's had 4 New York Times bestsellers. Barack Obama. He was on his list. It's one of his favorite authors, and he's got a new book that's out now called Expensive Basketball. So we'll have a chance to talk to Shea Serrano about that. But first, man, got a game in the books, season opener, a lot of things going on, playing against a pesky Wizards team. Khris Middleton come back in town. But Khris, watching that game, the way this team jumped out of the gate.
Right.
How'd you feel watching this team jumping out of the gate, the way they were playing, the way they were passing, the way they were shooting?
Well, I think it was a testament to the offseason preparation and the mentality instilled in these guys by Doc Rivers. I mean, that level of defensive aggression, the sharing the sugar aspect, the ball moving, but the aggressiveness. I mean, you saw the videos in practice with Giannis. That kind of told me a lot. He was saying something to Bobby, him and Bobby getting into it. But what that told me, the Bucks were, as you would say, frothing at the mouth, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to really set the tone. I think Khris being in the building had a little bit to do with that. I think this is the Wizards. Let's keep it absolutely 100 about level setting as far as expectations. But what you were impressed by was the team unity, the cohesiveness between the guys already. It looked spotty at times, obviously, but from this year to last year, man, I feel like there's just a level of pace that you're seeing that's a lot different. Stuff we talked about all summer, MJ, and stuff that I heard you mentioning on the broadcast, but the 3-point rate, hitting up the threes. And Eric Name posted some stuff to Twitter and just, great stat about how, the Bucks, I don't want to quote the stat, but basically they're getting up a lot more threes at a lot heavier rate, which is something you love to see. And then defensively, MJ, then I'll let you go in on it. I just like the versatility and the athleticism. I mean, it's a feel. It's a feel when you watch that game last night that you just haven't had as far as on the defensive side, just their capabilities, and to be able to sustain it, right? Those lows that took place that you saw, but then, you still had legs. You were talking about in the broadcast about these legs, these young legs.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me.
Yeah. And some great points, but, to expound on Eric Name, I mean, this team shot, I believe, 28 3-point field goal attempts in that first half, knocked down 13 of those, so that's like 46%. Khris, 56% of those field goal attempts in that first half were corner threes. And that's an inordinate amount of corner threes, which means a couple of things. The Bucks transition frequency in that first half, 27% plus, which is like the 98th percentile. And then live ball rebounds, they got out on 50% of the live ball rebounds. They got out in transition. That's young legs, babe. They were nowhere near that number last year. And that first game against the Raptors, man, they just really did some good things. And especially as you talked about sharing the sugar. Remind me of Steve Lavin saying that we got to share the sugar. But
Well,
sharing
that's
the
where I
sugar.
got it. That's where I got it from.
We got to share the sugar. But sharing the sugar, the one more pass, that one more.
Yes.
Going from
Yes.
a really good shot, AJ Green, a really good open look, a Gary
Dude.
Trent Jr., a really good open look, to a
Dude.
KPJ in the corner, or AJ, out top, or whatever it was. But they shared the basketball in terms of creating great looks, as opposed to, and I'm not just going to say good looks, really good looks by really good shooters. And that mindset, I think, will carry them a long way. So
No.
I'm like you. I was impressed with a whole lot of things going on, especially. And so Kevin Porter Jr., he turns his ankle, plays
Right.
under 10 minutes. But I was looking, Chris, at his net rating when he was on the floor. And again, it's a small sample size, so it's skewed, But his net rating was like 68.2, 150 on the
Yeah.
offensive end, 82 on the defensive end.
And again, MJ, it is. Look, I like the Wizards' young crew,
Yeah.
the George Keyshawn George coming
Right.
in there, doing some things, and
Bub Carrington,
Carrington,
yeah.
hey Dredge, Bub Carrington, and those guys.
Cam
So we got
Whitmore.
who is live, who is extremely live, and Sar, your boy Sar. I mean, he second half
Yep.
last year averaged over 15 points a game, had a great second half to his rookie season. Made some highlight reel blocks, throwing Bobby stuff, just living above the rim. But the reality is, it felt like the Bucks were in a different class than that crew yesterday.
Yeah.
And already, and that's what I saw. I think that's exciting.
Yeah, no, it is, and just to touch on that point, I was kind of communicating with my guy Sam Presti yesterday, a little bit back and forth, just talking about Will Dawkins, the general manager of the Wiz, and some of the people they've got. Brian Keefe was on his staff at OKC when Sam was down there. All these guys have been with Sam 17 years, and that's kind of that Popovich. But get the veterans, Khris Middleton, CJ McCollum, and Sam Presti talked about it's a stabilizing impact that it has on the team, and then that leads to better player development. But you could see when this team got down, they didn't quit. And to me, that's those veterans kind of stabilizing us. Okay,
no, right.
We got to just withstand this first punch in the mouth, and now
That's
it's time for us to hit them back. And they hit the Bucks back. But to the Bucks' credit, they respond once they were punched back, and that hasn't always been the case, man.
Well, they had the wind and the legs to respond, MJ. They had the bodies.
Good point.
That's just what it's going to come down to every single time.
Yeah.
No matter how much we wanted these guys to be certain type of dudes, they just age, father time, man. It's not possible.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, Bobby Portis says the Bucks have. It's funny when we had Bobby on the podcast, and I alluded to this in the game with Lisa Byington. When I was talking about the Bucks are 12 deep, Bobby's like, hey, he corrected me. No, I feel like we, 13, 14 quality players deep. And Doc Rivers had some interesting things to say about this depth, the quality depth, but then the level of competitiveness that it provides. That's one aspect that people don't think about. When you got that kind of quality depth, these two units, man, they go at each other, man, and they went at each other in training camp. Doc Rivers talked about that.
One of the most competitive preseasons I think I've ever had as a coach. That's saying a lot. And I thought a lot of things were at play. They obviously know that Giannis and Myles and those guys are on the first unit, but they didn't care. And I love that. I love the fact that there were arguments, guys wouldn't give in to each other. And we talked about it every day.
Yeah. And so we saw that play out last night. And as it would happen, we talked about KPJ and the ankle sprain. And so now all of a sudden, either a Cole Anthony or Ryan Rollins has got to be thrown. Now, let me say this about Ryan Rollins, and I want your take on this too, Chris.
Okay.
To start that third quarter, it was about 5 straight possessions when the Bucks didn't score.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Rollins was starting as the point guard,
right,
along with the regular starters. I thought he got sped up. They pressured him up that right sideline, and as
Okay.
opposed to him beating the pressure and then pulling it back out, and now getting the Bucks into their sets, into their offense, I thought he was a little too aggressive, looking for his own. He got caught in the key one time when Keyshawn George kind of stripped him when he made a spin move. Gary Trent Jr. was open on that left break line. Maybe should have circled maybe toward the middle to present himself a little clearer to Ryan. But and then Ryan came down the next time. He beat the pressure, but then he pulled up for that elbow. It's like, to me, you got to have a better feel for the game. You got to read the game, like read the room. You got to read the game. I thought he, at that moment, now this is a part of his growth. It's criticism, but it's a part of his growth process. He's got to read the game and the flow of the game. If Giannis ain't touched the basketball, Chris, in 4 or 5 possessions, you as the point guard, it's incumbent upon you to make sure that you feed the big fella on these next 4 or 5 possessions.
Yeah, but this guy is still growing, MJ. He's still evolving, and as you alluded to, right? So like that's a growing pain. Understanding when to go, when not to go. Let's not forget he's with Cole and KPJ. I'm curious to see how many reps he's actually been getting with the first unit and the point guard. So he's locked into second unit reps
As a shooting guard almost, yeah, and
And so now muscle memory. I get out here, it's like,
yeah.
and again, I always say, I don't see players, I see objects. So it's not no more. There's Giannis, there's Myles, and there's this. I see dudes, and I'm trying to get to the rim.
Yeah.
And look, I know it sounds weird, but I think it's just like it's how players continue to get better. He's not a finished product. He's 22 years old or 23 or whatever. So like this is what 22-year-olds go through. They go through these little moments where you got to have some downtimes and you got to go back, sit down, look at the film. Doc talk to you. Okay, we got 5 possessions, queued up for you. Here's what you could have did differently.
Right.
Talk just like you just talked to him, MJ. And that's part of the growing process. But what you do get from a Rollins, man, is just a level somebody that's watching. I mean, there's a level of comfort there, especially on the defensive end, man. I just feel like this guy, when he starts harassing and he starts to bother you and check your handle and reach and slide and dip and go for the ball, man, I mean, he was doing that, but he was sustaining that. And it carries over into every other defender. It kind of pumps everybody else up on the defensive side.
Yeah, it didn't have a good game for Ryan, but still
Sure.
3 steals, 3 assists,
Hey,
29, just under 30 minutes. So look, Chris, and this is something that I know you'll appreciate. So after that game against Toronto, Ryan struggled, missed 7 of his 9 shots, 5 of his 6 3-point shots. I take care of my never-ending post-game duties. I'm just being facetious. I love working with Craig and Sean. We have a good time on the set. But we did the post-game, getting ready to leave out of the arena, head back to the kitchen area near the locker room to get my post-game grub to take back to my crib and kind of chill out. And who do I see on the floor with that compression shirt on, getting up his 250 made jumpers after every home game? It's Ryan Rollins, man. And it just warms my heart. He was doing it last year, and he's continued that resiliency, that commitment, that discipline, that discipline. And you and I, we always talk about that. I mean, it's the guys that are disciplined to work on their games when others are showering and getting out of there and doing whatever they're doing going into the night. He's out there, man, and not because he missed some shots that he thought he could have made, but this is just a part of his process.
You gotta go above and beyond, man, if you want to be the greatness. It's the Kobe Bryant system, right?
Yeah.
Period. That's what I always go back to. If you're really on that psycho, you're gonna work out, do some stuff after every game. You're not tripping. You're not treating this like nothing except I need to shoot it. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working on my game. So
please.
And speaking of which, maybe the poster boy for working on his game, Giannis. Now, so I'm looking at his usage. What would you think his usage was if you haven't seen it? Have you seen his usage?
I haven't seen it. So
what do you think his usage was for that game 1 against the Raptors?
Because I would guess, but I'm thinking the minutes, right? And so I'm like, is usage in the minutes?
27. It's the touches.
This usage formula. Minutes associated with usage?
Not really,
Not really. Okay,
but if you get a lot done in a minimum amount of minutes, then that kind of says that you.
So was his usage 35?
45.3, bro.
Jeez, I was gonna say 40. That's one of the highest usages I've ever heard of. I've never even seen that.
45.3. And so here's what I like. I think he
That's
took
crazy.
19 shots in the second half, something crazy. But you know, he didn't force things in the first half. The Bucks came out torrid, man, in terms of shooting the basketball, knocked down 9 of the first 12
Yeah,
shots.
they were in the flow state. The flow state. The
Oh
flow
man,
state.
in serious flow state. And so Giannis and the way the Wizards were playing Giannis, they were sending that extra defender at him. You know, every time he catch, there was a guy right there. Put the
Taking
front
his
of-
rhythm.
Yeah, busting his rhythm
Right.
all up,
Just like you was. Yep.
which is a great coaching strategy. And
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised, and we're going to talk about this guy in a minute, if Khris Middleton in the coaches meeting and said, Chris, what do you think? How should we play Giannis?
100%.
Break up his rhythm, you know, early. Don't let him get started early because he done dropped
100%.
50 on you Wizards over. He's averaging like 40 a game or something on the Wizards.
Yeah, I saw the
5
stat.
games. Something crazy.
I saw the stat.
But to Giannis's credit, he's distributing. He's giving it up early. He's had some hockey assists, the swing, and so
Yeah.
I like that mindset. But when it came time to total and utter and sheer determination and domination, the big fella Chris came with it. Every time the Wizards would get close, 7 points, they get within, playing well. The veterans lead them, Khris Middleton leading them. Giannis would at that elbow. But again, a lot of it was just good job getting into the offense, but ball movement. I thought when the Bucks kind of got stymied offensively, went about 4 minutes without scoring. It was like one and done. You know, first guy get it, take a shot. First guy get it, try to be aggressive, get to the hole.
Yeah. No, man, but again, that's why this Bucks lineup, this Bucks team to me is so dangerous. Because you can win the non-Giannis minutes, and then when Giannis gets in the game, we can go into overdrive. And so, like, you know, I've been saying it, you know, since the summer. Just I was very bullish, or not bullish, but I was like high on this team. Man, I didn't understand how people viewed them as a team that, like everybody, a 5 seed to a 13 seed. After one game, it's the Wizards, man, but more so the style of play, and just the reality of our depth. That's not like something like last year. It's like, could these guys do it? No, we got depth. Those guys can play the minutes and they can be effective on the NBA level. The system is truly you know, yesterday was our first sample, but man, that stuff looked good, man. Well, I don't want to get too hype, MJ, but god dang, they came out like it looked good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, but if you have you ever say like, you know, started out a year where you guys were playing great from game one and then kind of hit a lull somewhere along there. How hard is it to sustain this type of level in terms of connectivity, sharing the sugar, you know, before dudes start tripping and start thinking about not sharing the sugar?
You saying in the context of losing some games or just?
Well, no, just in the context of like, let's just take this Bucks team, right? This game one, they played this style of basketball that we saw.
Right.
It's like a team that was not mid-season form, if you will. They were already connected. This is what coaches kind of coach to build up to. Right. You know, usually you don't start the season with this level of offensive connectivity unless you're like the Warriors and these other guys, right? Established units, established squads. Did you play on a team, or have you had that experience in the NBA where you guys started out like that connectivity? You might have went through a lull later on. How hard is it, I guess is my question, to maintain that level of connectivity in the NBA over the course of 82 games?
Well, and so this is where culture comes into play. And so I can give you a couple of examples. I think my second or third year with the Bucks, we started out, maybe my third year, winning a bunch of games in a row on a high and then came down, but had enough culture already established after 3 years with Don Nelson and Junior Bridgman and Quinn Buckner and myself. We got Bob Anir at the trade deadline and then Brian Winters. I mean, so these Sidney Moncrief, you know, Hall of Famer. So we had that culture. Now, when I played with the Clippers, I don't know if you remember this one season, we started out 5-0.
Yeah, I do.
We were undefeated, man. We were undefeated, but
nice.
then you know, then reality started to set in. But that culture was different. So now, after you lose 2 or 3 in a row, the first thing you start thinking about is, here we go. Okay, it's back to reality. It's back to our normal selves. This was a dream. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. I mean, it was kind of that thing going on with us, man. It was all a dream. 5-0 was all a dream, and then we struggled from that point on out. Now with this team, I think with Doc Rivers and his championship pedigree with Darvin Ham and the Dave Yeager and the guys that have been head coaches and know how to manage a team during the ups and downs. I think this team will be okay. But this early part of the season when you've got the Raptor team that shocked the Atlanta Hawks and beat them by 20 on opening night. You got the Cavs that are smarting from an early season loss to the Knicks. We got the Knicks coming into Milwaukee. The Golden State
It's some
Warriors.
hitters.
The Golden
It's some
State
hitters.
Warriors coming in
It's some
after
hitters.
that. I mean, so we'll see.
We gonna see.
This is
about
where you
this
got to
culture.
really bring it. So, and I expect them to bring it. So we'll see. But I tell you, one of my favorite moments last night, obviously, was the return of Double Deuces, Cash Money Middleton, number 22, and I had a chance, Kris, to corner him before the game after he'd done his pregame shooting, and a lot of people were talking to him. And how you kind of watch a guy and you see when you can get your moment. And I saw my
Wow,
moment.
you're stalking. You're stalking.
I was seriously stalking my guy. So really stalking my guy. And so I said, Kris, stopped him, and he was cool. We got a really good relationship. And so I said, man, I got to tell you a quick story. When I first got here, it was like his second or third year, 11 years ago. And Tim Gergovich, the great coach who I knew from my days working with the Seattle Sonics, he was George Karl's assistant, long time Tark assistant at UNLV, but just a basketball lifer, great guy. But Gerg was Kris's guy. He was responsible for Kris's development. So Gerg asked me, he called me Coach, do you think you can talk to Kris? I was like, well, we'll talk to him about what, Gerg? And I'm telling Kris this story. I just think if he had some confidence, more confidence, he could really develop into a really good player in this league. I was like, okay, well, let me watch him. So I watched him, Kris, for about a week. I saw how competitive he was. I saw the trash talking he was getting into in practice. I saw the almost fights he was getting into with Giannis. Those two are going at it tooth and nail in practice. And I went back to Gerg and I was like, Gerg, this guy has got you conned, man. He's got you thinking he's this Southern gentleman, real nice guy, manners, yes sir, no sir, yes coach. I said, this dude's a killer, man. He's
A
like,
dog.
I said, this dude, he's a dog. He's a killer. I said, he's a killer. I told Kris that story, and he just laughed. But man, it was so great, man. Having him come back to Milwaukee, the reception. What did you think about that reception? What, the 4 different standing ovations in the course of the evening?
Well, not only that, which was amazing and a testament to why the Bucks fans are arguably the greatest fans in all of sports, but it's more about the homecoming festivities that kind of blow you away about it. It really shows you how truly loved and valued this guy is. Like, it's not fake. Like, some people, some teams, that guys that leave teams, you think, is this stuff really genuine? I think with Middleton, watching him talk to Giannis and Thanasis on the Thanalysis podcast episode where they had Kris via Zoom, you saw the kind of just the emotion, the bittersweet sort of sentiment, kind of like, I wish you guys would have traded me. I could just, and I'm not saying he said anything that was remotely associated with that.
I feel it.
But
I feel that. I feel that every time I'm around him, Kris. I feel that.
I feel it too.
Yeah.
I feel it too. And just listening to him, so it takes you to a place where you kind of view it through a lens a little differently. Like, for me, I never understood why Bucks fans just unilaterally hated Kuz. Like, unilaterally didn't just hated Kuz. It's not about Kuz.
Yeah.
It's what Kuz represents.
Yeah,
and it's
man.
their guy, their hero. We traded you for Kris Cash.
Right.
Like, so it's a big deal. So you just, man, all that to be said, man, yes, emotional time, emotional moment. I mean, I love the competitiveness in the game. It's just something you don't see nowadays in the aspect where this was like genuine as it gets.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never seen anything so genuine for a guy coming back. Maybe it's happened in other sports, and I can remember a lot of NBA stuff like this. I'd never seen anything so genuine and loving and coming from a place of, real just sincerity, if you will.
Yeah. And see, so my situation was the anti-Kuz. because I got traded for Terry Cummings, and Terry, was averaging about 25 a game with the Bucks, and I came back here and he was like just flourishing. And so I had some
Wait, so
questions.
when you came back with the Clippers?
When I came back with the Clippers to play the Bucks, Terry Cummings, he was just he was already good, already a great player, but he was playing just at the top of about 23,
So they wasn't
24
tripping
points a
on you,
game,
MJ?
But so I'm, my thing is like when they introduce me, will the fans be like the baseline bums down in San Antonio, be like, yeah, good riddance, so who cares? So what? But they gave me a rousing round of applause and kind of a standing ovation, if I remember correctly. Not quite like Kris, but it was heartfelt. Now, go ahead.
Oh, staying on that. Do you think if you would have won a championship, do you think your
Yes.
ovation would have been a lot bigger?
Well, I don't know.
Tell the truth.
I don't know.
Be real.
My knee jerk reaction is yes. But I just, and this is where, when you just made a comment, Kris, and people might think it's all cap when you said these Bucks fans are some of the greatest in the country, but this fan base appreciates you
100%,
for
bro.
giving a complete effort. Give it all you can give. Whatever you're going through, the problems you might have, the personal issues, you're out there trying as hard as you can. And I think they appreciated our teams in the 80s for that, despite and our fans in Milwaukee are realistic. It's like, hey, if we'd have lost to the New Jersey Nets with Albert King and Darwin Cook, and that crew, or the Knicks with Michael Ray, we'd have lost to a lesser opponent, then it's different. We lose to the Sixers with Moses Malone, 4-5-4. We lose to Larry Bird and the Celtics with the Chief and Kevin McHale and Dennis Johnson and that crew. So our fans are realistic about the expectations. Much like, it's funny because I still feel this sense of outpouring and love for the Brewers and the kind of season they got swept by the Dodgers, but the fans are still appreciative of them, giving it everything they got, playing as hard as they can, and they came up short. So what? But to your point, Khris Middleton, he made a couple of observations, just in line with what you were talking about being traded and kind of, why'd you guys trade me that? But he talked about when you spend so many years, especially the formative years, like he spent in Milwaukee, when you get traded like that, it feels like you left a piece of yourself in that city. And that's how he feels with Milwaukee. He's left a piece of himself. And then he said he was talking to his mom that morning of the game, and he told her with everything that was planned, the video, the this, the that, and all the tributes, that it kind of feels like you're going to your own funeral. And but then he made the point about, but
why is that so funny? Why is that so funny?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's because it's profound, it's deep. And when you think about it, I mean, but he said that he feels fortunate and he's grateful that he gets his flowers while he's still around to appreciate them. But just the tributes, the eulogy and this again, and all that. But it couldn't happen to a better guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to put a cap on it, I mean, it's like this thing with this relationship that fan bases have with these players. It's like sometimes you just, I don't know, you just don't really realize the impact that a guy really has on a fan base until he gets traded. Like, so to see all this and all the standing ovations, I've never seen a quartet of standing ovations for one guy. It just makes you think like, man, as much as Kris misses this, a piece of him is here. It's really the Bucks fans feel like a piece of them or a piece of their, Bucks fandom. No, it's like, but it's
memories, emotions.
It's real.
Emotions.
It's not Hollywood.
Game winners, 40 piece against the Hawks when Giannis is out. No, this is me as the broadcaster.
It's in here. It's in here.
Yeah.
It's in here.
Yeah, no, without question. So that brings me to this, and we'll kind of wind up this segment with this. And Peter Feigin, the Bucks president, might call me on the carpet for this conversation, getting it initiated. But do we need?
Wait! Don't say nothing. Don't say. Man, we talk about Peter Feigin, dog. Don't be trying to make no comments on here. You talk. He go get on you for this conversation.
No. I've been.
Oh, you just playing. Oh, I
always joke with Peter like that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
because it'll be some expense involved in it. Is my point. He's the guy that kind of watches the nickels and dimes and all that.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
they've
sir.
gone. They haven't spared any. We're paying Dame Lillard $25 million a year dead money. So this team has shown that they'll go to whatever extreme
and
they need to
beyond.
go to put the best product on the floor. But here's the thing: statues. There's a few other teams that have statues. The Heat with D Wade. Lakers got all their great Shaq and Kobe and Kareem and that whole crew, Jerry West. The Jazz.
Yeah.
Did you know the Jazz had the Stockton and Malone statues?
I didn't realize it, but those guys deserve that. But I
They
didn't realize
deserve it.
it.
I didn't either, but they deserve it. The Mavs
Dirk.
have Dirk.
That's
Very well.
sick. That's sick. The Dirk. Is the Dirk statue a one-legger? I know
It's
that's
probably
the
a
logo.
one-legged fadeaway. And then the Bulls, of course, with MJ. Would you like to see statues in the Deer District in Milwaukee? And who would be the three or four players that would warrant having statues? Would Khris Middleton rate for a statue?
Yeah. This is a great convo. I mean, this definitely needs to be something that we get a lot of mileage of on social media for the next week.
Does Khris Middleton deserve a statue?
My question is, as I do with all this type of stuff, what is the criteria? What is the criteria? We got to establish the criteria for getting a statue. Because as much as you want to give Kareem one, right?
Yeah.
How many years was he a Buck? And it comes up in these discussions about the greatest Buck of all time and how, Giannis is kind of like, is unequivocally the one. So let's start statue deservers. Does the Big O deserve a statue? Does Giannis? Does Kareem? I don't know if Chris, does Sydney? Does anybody from the Bucks of those 80s teams deserve a statue? We got to set up the criteria, man.
Well, so here's what I would say, and this is gonna leave me out, but it's okay. I would say if you have to win a championship or make the Hall of Fame. I think if you are an integral part of a championship team, and you're part of the Hall of Fame, so Sidney Moncrief would get a statue, then you deserve a statue. So Giannis,
that's fair.
Kareem, Big O, Bobby Dandridge, and Khris Middleton. I think Khris. Well, I say Khris because of how he played in that championship season when Giannis went down. And you could argue, I mean, people could argue Drew Holiday, but that to me is more on the margins.
Well, so there's no minimum. So it's hard to do with Kareem and this and that, but like you should have been playing for the Bucks for at least a certain amount of years.
Well, remember remember that the franchise was only 4 or 5 years old at the time that they won that first championship, and it wasn't like the franchise.
Really? Expansion?
It was 1969, I think.
That's right.
Then they won a championship in 71. They won a championship in 71. The franchise was established, so it wasn't like it was around all this greatness at the time where Oscar could have been here for 7, 8, 9 years.
That's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk, bro.
So and I will say this. I mean, Wayne Embry. I mean, if you want to go executives, might warrant some conversation, but that's something that I think social media, man, should give us a lot of great feedback on. There's Khris Middleton. If the Bucks were to go that route, put some statues up in the Deer District. Number one, should we do that? Number two, does Khris Middleton, Cash Money Middleton, all-time leader in three-pointers made, one of the all-time greatest clutch, and I say this without any cap whatsoever. Khris Middleton is one of the all-time greatest clutch performers that I've ever seen, Chris. He's right up there with Reggie Miller and Michael, the great clutch shots. Not as big a stage as Michael in finals games and all that, but just man, I've seen him make money when it's released. It's going in. It's gonna find a way to knock it down.
Question: who have you been hanging around? You've been saying Cap a couple of times on the show. Who you been hanging around? Who you hanging around? Who you been hanging around, man? Why are you saying Cap so much?
Well, in our pre-production meeting, Mona said Cap a couple of times. It's about something. I kind of put it together. Put it together in my head what it meant. So
Mona uses Cap pretty liberally. I hear it about 100 times.
Yeah, Mona's Khan, one of our producers, uses Cap a lot. So I just decided to kind of intersperse it into my lexicon if I could. So anyway,
it's all good. It sounds cool.
All right. Well, listen, man. this next guest, after a brief timeout, no cap with him. Shea Serrano's coming back, talk about his great book, Expensive Basketball, and can't wait to see what he's got to say, and stick around so you can hear it. So, all right, man, right around the corner, Shea Serrano.
All right, welcome everybody here, District. Marques Johnson, the captain of this vessel, as we continue the fantastic voyage heading into the beginnings of the NBA season. And I'm joined, as always, by my first mate, my son, Kris Johnson, who, by the way, we're the only father and son combination in the history of NCAA basketball to win a national championship at the same school. That's the caveat, at the same school. Kris, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Now, I got to set this up. So our guests, please bear with me. You know, when they first mentioned my guest, his name, you know, I was kind of like, you know, kind of off of it. I didn't, you know, I mean, you know, who? Well, I mean, Shea Serrano, okay. You know, but when you do podcasts every week, you know, you got to find guests, and sometimes, you know, my guy Dylan Carter, our producer, he can go into
the best introduction I've ever gotten.
He can go down the rabbit hole a little bit. You know, we got to make this stuff work and all that. And I was like, okay, all right. Then they said, well, you know, that's Josiah's boy. So, you know, my son Josiah, they're like, Josiah, Josiah and Shea, you know, they're cool, you know. So I reached out to Josiah. He started filling me in a little bit. And, of course, you know, doing my due diligence, I started to do my research. And all of a sudden, names like The Ringer and ESPN and Grantland and GQ and screenwriter. Now, I'm a writer myself, Shea. I'm just finishing a book. We'll talk about that later, The Crenshaw Chronicles. Okay. Chronicling all the great alumni of Crenshaw High School: Darryl Strawberry, Kevin Ollie, Big John Williams, Stevie Thompson, a bunch of people. But so I'm reading all this, man, and then I see New York Times bestseller list. How many times? Shea Serrano? Four times on the New York Times. Cuatro. 4 times on the New York Times bestseller list. I see, and this may have been the most impressive thing for me. I don't know why. I don't know why, but when I saw that you were on the list of Barack Obama's favorite books in 2017.
Yeah, how about that?
That's legendary. That's legendary.
You know? And so I started to have better feelings toward Dylan, our producer. But no, man, I'm really honored, man. Shea Serrano, New York Times best-selling author. Man, we appreciate you stopping by here, District, so much, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I appreciate y'all having me on here. Again, that's the best introduction I've ever gotten.
Well, no, and it well deserved, because again, you know, the name didn't resonate right off the bat, but the more I looked into it, man, I just got excited, and then you coupled that with. We're supposed to get like some copies of your book, I believe. So I just looked at the samples that were available on Kindle, and just some of the stuff that you were writing about. I'm not sure if it was your new book or your old book. I think it was your new book where you talk about moments, Klay Thompson and Kobe Bryant's last bit of basketball in his career, and Giannis's 50 piece in the final. That's the new book, right?
That's the new book, correct?
Yeah. So talk about the new book, the name of it. Expensive Basketball. Why that name? What it's about, and what was the motivation for you in terms of writing in general, writing a basketball book, writing about pop culture as you do. Just give us the background. Just give us the whole spiel on Shea Serrano as a writer.
All right. Well, the book, as you mentioned, is called Expensive Basketball, and I felt compelled to write it because, as both of you know, the further along into basketball we've gotten, the more optimized everything has become. Like, everything gets measured in basketball. Every single thing you can think of. Obviously, points, rebounds, assists, that sort of thing, player efficiency rating, those sorts of things. But also they measure like how much salt is in a player's saliva so that they can optimize their sports drink. They measure how many times a player is the last person to cross half court. They measure how many times a player dribbles the ball. How many steps does a player take during it? They measure every single thing, right? And so it just felt a little like maybe what we need is the opposite of that. Maybe what we need is a book that there are stats in it, sure, but the stats are never the point of the book. Because my contention is that any great basketball moment you could think of, any single one, pick one. Pick Jordan shrugging after hitting the threes, or Vince Carter in the 2000 dunk contest, or anything you can think of at all. Nobody watched any of those moments and then was like, oh wow, Michael Jordan is 6 for 12 from the field and his player efficiency rating is 22%, 22.9, whatever.
True.
Like, nobody thought any of that stuff. All that happens is you watch a thing happen on the court, an incredible, amazing thing, and your body fills with emotion. Oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. The book is, sort of designed to hopefully capture those things, capture those feelings. Let's put those at the forefront. You can have the stats and the numbers in there, but it should be like in service of something. It should be to fortify something, not to serve as the like foundation of something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And just to backtrack a little bit, man, because you brought up a great memory, and this is what we do on this show. We go back and tell stories and all that. But Vince Carter, and so Vince Carter, Shea, Kris, Gary Payton, I was going to say hired, but didn't pay me. So he asked me to MC his charity game in Seattle. This is in the 90s, whatever, that right before that dunk contest. And so Vince was a rookie coming in, I believe. Paul Pierce was there. A lot of great young players were there who hadn't really established themselves. And so after this All-Star game, so I was hired to MC. Now, I started MCing Kris, and I guess I was boring the pants off everybody because Mark Curry, the comic, what was his show, Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
Hanging with Mr. Cooper, yeah.
Mark came over and give me that microphone. You don't know what you're doing. And so he took the microphone, and he was funny, and he was a natural at it. He was funny, had the whole 15,000 people at Key Arena in Seattle laughing. But after the game, yeah, Mark stole my thunder, Kris. But we always joke about that ever since. But so they had an impromptu dunk contest, Shea, after the game, after the All-Star game. And man, I'm watching Paul Pierce, Windmill, and some other guys do some solid stuff. But Vince started doing that reverse 360. He started doing all these crazy dunks. I'm watching this, and I'm blown away. So I'm working with Fox Sports, Kevin Frazier, at the time, studio show. And so we're getting ready to go into the dunk contest. And Kevin Frazier is poo-pooing the dunk contest. They need to get rid of it. There's nothing new out there. I said, man, trust me, K. Frazier, this is on the air. I said, you're getting ready to see some dunks that you have never seen before in your life. He's like, come on, Marcus. I've seen every dunk there is. He's a ball player, wannabe ball player, Kevin Frazier. And after that dunk contest, he's like, man, you were right. I mean, those seminal moments, and I'd seen all those, the hanging in the rim and all that.
Yeah.
But, man, those seminal moments, man, just, and Kris and I digress even further, 1986, Dallas, Spud Webb.
Yeah. Reunion Arena.
We're sitting I'm an all-star. That's my final all-star game. I was 30 years old with the Clipper all-star. Talk about an oxymoron. A Clipper all-star at that time was almost unheard of. But no, we're watching Spud Webb, man. Spud Webb, and
5'7".
Do you remember that, Kris? Do you how vividly? Just God. So I mean. And so when I started reading your book, it brought me back to those moments, man. And I've seen it all. I've been there. I've done that. But still, there's a level of just excitement. I get sprung off that stuff, man. I get chills off that stuff. Even today, it connects me back to '86 and then Vince Carter, the first time I saw him do that reverse windmill.
But Shea, I think a lot of what your book captures from what I've read is just, it's like the reason why people fell in love with the game. You know what I'm saying? It's like you captured that emotion, that feeling. For instance, Giannis. Like, I wanted to ask you specifically about Giannis. Beyond the 50 points and all that, what was the expensive feeling, that particular just blend of will, skill, circumstance that made his Game 6 in 2021 like, an undeniable piece of art?
Well, you look at how that finals sort of played out, right? The Bucks and the Suns are playing. The Suns go up 2-0, and you're like, this is over.
Yeah.
This is done. This is absolutely done. Your guy who, in the Eastern Conference Finals, everybody thought broke his leg something is wrong with Giannis. He's not playing like he normally does. And then he shows up in game 3, 42-12-4, and the Bucks win. And then he shows up in game 4, 26-14-8, and then has this game-saving block at the rim. 2-2. All of a sudden, everybody in Phoenix starting to panic a little bit. Because they can feel it coming. Giannis is getting more and more powerful. Game 5, 32-9-6, with the game-saving and one alley-oop dunk. Like he's just getting more and more powerful. And as somebody who's just watching impartially, I don't have any connection to the Bucks or to the Suns. I'm a San Antonio Spurs guy. But I'm just watching in like awe of what this guy's doing. And you're like, well, surely we've seen the best of it. And then he shows up in game 6 with a 50, 14, and 5 stat line. Not only that, but you look at how that game started. Like it started with him just destroying everything immediately, just in the open court. Boom. As soon as he did that, like, oh, this is going to be a long night if you're a Phoenix fan. He's doing that. He's the like free throw line story that comes into it of how he was just missing all of his free throws like crazy, and then now he's going to shoot 90% or whatever he shot for that game. It just felt special.
Wow.
It felt it didn't even matter. Like, I mean, 50 points is like a cool thing to say. Like that never happened before in a closeout thing. But just like the way that you felt watching this guy decide we're not going to lose. And then I didn't even mention the whole thing of like, he could have left. He could have like started to dangle. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave. He didn't. He said, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to sign my extension. I'm going to win a championship here. And then he did exactly that. The whole thing, it just felt incredible to watch happen. You know, his father had passed. Yeah. Now we're seeing him on the sideline. I read this profile of him about in GQ where he talked about, he's like this moment of like this moment to himself where he's just sitting there. And it covers his face, and he's like crying. And then in that moment, he said he was like talking to his dad, telling him that we did like this incredible thing. So all of this beautiful stuff all wrapped together, and it just felt like this needs to be coronated. Yeah. This needs to be celebrated some sort of way. How can I write a book about basketball feelings and not include this exact moment?
Yeah, and speaking of that game, I mean, so 50 points, 16 to 25 from the field. 1 of 3 3-pointers, which for Giannis, 33% is really, really good. We'll take that this season. 17 and 19 free throws, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks. I forgot. I mean, the 6 blocks.
He was everywhere.
I look at those, but that stat didn't even register that he was that active at the defense. And it's the only time an NBA player in the history of the league has put together that kind of finals stat profile. You know, 50 rebounds, 6 blocks, the whole shebang. So, you know, for me, Shea, I don't care what you say. Whenever you do something, especially on that stage, whenever you do something nobody else has ever done, and I'm not talking about these made-up, fake, facade, fabricated stats. I'm talking about the real deal stats that we look at, points, rebounds, assists, blocks, all that good stuff. I mean, God, you know, it's like you're dropped from outer space. You're like you're an alien, like you're a unicorn or whatever they call them nowadays.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was just incredible. But let's talk about you. The other thing. The other thing that stood out to me, that gave you instant cred, man. That I felt like there was this kinship between us.
All right.
I would fly into Houston, Texas, to go visit my son in college. I'd drive down the highway, and I knew I was getting close when I saw this big white statue, this gigantic white statue.
Yeah.
On the right hand
Sam Houston, baby. Sam Houston.
I knew we was getting close to Huntsville when I saw this big white Sam Houston, General Sam Houston. That thing, I don't know how big that thing is, but it's the biggest statue, Chris, off the side of the highway that you ever see in your life. It's all white marble or whatever it is, but it means you're about 10 minutes outside of Huntsville.
It's Sam Houston?
It's Sam Houston. General Sam Houston. Yeah. At Sam Houston State. That's where Cyrus went to school. My son, for 4 years, was a redshirt freshman. COVID kind of got him all caught up, man. But so when I was in Huntsville, you ever been to the 1812 Steakhouse in Huntsville? Mm-hmm. 1812. There's a couple of other good breakfast spots, man. But did writing? You met your wife in college, right? Am I correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of some good things happened from that. But when did you first decide on becoming a writer? I read a story about being a school teacher, middle school teacher, and all that. But talk about the genesis of your writing career and how that first became a thought.
Yeah, so I was a middle school teacher. I taught science for 9 years. My wife was a middle school teacher as well. She taught social studies, and I met her in college. We graduated. She's from Houston, so we moved when we graduated. She wanted to be back in Houston, so I moved with her there. Started working and that whole thing. But we're getting married. She's pregnant with twins, and like 4 months into the pregnancy, she went into labor while she was at work. And so it was like this, like a disaster of a situation. They rush her to the hospital. They do this emergency surgery, and then they tell her that, for the rest of the pregnancy, for these final 4 or so months that you're going to be pregnant, you have to be on bed rest. You got to lay flat, because if you get up, the babies are going to come out, and that's no good. And so she wasn't able to work anymore. And so all of a sudden, we were about to be like a family of 4 on a teacher salary. I think my check at the time was maybe like $1,100 every 2 weeks, which is not near enough to like pay all of the bills. Together we could do it when we were both working, but just one of us working now, we couldn't afford the stuff. So I needed
What are you? Were you a substitute teacher or something? $1,100.
No, I was a full-fledged teacher.
That's a full-fledged teacher salary.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What school district was it?
Where was that at?
It was in Houston ISD, so like one of the biggest in the country.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
And
So go ahead. All right. Yeah, man.
And so I needed to make some extra money to like float us until she could go back to work. And I tried to apply at different restaurants and Walmarts and Target and all that. But each time I would get an interview, they would say, well, you can't work when we need you to work because you already have a full-time job. So I needed something I could do in my off time. I Googled work from home jobs, and writer was one of them. And it said you just need a computer and the internet if you want to try to be a writer. And I said, okay, well, I got both of those things, so I'll try that. And then just start researching how to do that. You learn about like freelance writing. You learn how to pitch places. I started emailing every editor that I could get in contact with, and just trying to talk somebody into letting me write for them. Eventually, I was able to talk this like a woman who was doing a neighborhood newsletter. Like she was printing it up in her garage and then handing it out to her neighbors. And she paid me $15 to write about the Houston Texans. And then she paid me another $15 to write about the Houston Astros. So I did that.
That's
and then
sturdy.
I took that paper.
That's sturdy. Okay.
I took that paper. I got my $30. I took that paper, and then I went to the Houston Press, which is like the alt weekly in Houston, the next level up. And I'm like, hey, look, I'm a writer. Here's my proof. Here are my bylines. Let me write for y'all. And then they let me write for them. And then I took those ones, and then I was like, went to MTV, and I was like, hey, look, I wrote for the Houston Press. You should let me write for y'all. And they let me. And then I went to ESPN, and I was like, look, MTV let me write for them. You guys should let me write for you. And I just was like trying to build my way up like that. And then eventually made it onto this show, talking to the Johnson men. Here we are.
And Chris Haynes, the great correspondent, NBA sideline reporter. Chris is all over the place, but he's got a similar story. Growing up in Fresno, I believe, but started out small time, and someone said moved to an NBA city, went to Portland, started writing just newsletters on his own about the Blazers. Got a press pass, press credential. And man, I just love those stories of resiliency. I also love you got what I call the Frank Howard dynamic going on, and I love this. I'm kind of go off the path just a bit, but Frank Howard was this great baseball player. Shea, Kris, home run hitter, played for the Dodgers for a number of years, about 6'6", 250 pounds back in those days, but just crushed the ball type dude. Anyway, he wound up moving to Green Bay, Wisconsin, Shea. And so when they asked Frank Howard, this is what reminds me of you, they said, Frank, why Green Bay? He said, well, Green Bay has clean air, it's no crime, great schools, and that's where my wife is from.
Yeah, that's all you need. Where's my woman? I'm gonna go where my woman is.
Yeah, it's not complicated. It's not complicated at all.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that.
But you also talked about
at all.
You also talked about haters. One article I was reading about you, and you were talking about how and I love this, and I know Kris can relate because he's got a lot of this in him. I've got a lot of this in me, but we can be petty sometimes. And you were talking about being petty, and just a lot of your success that propelled you was like you were trying to prove these naysayers didn't know what they. And so, talk about that part of that dynamic in terms of moving up that ladder of success in terms of your career.
Yeah, I think you sort of try to take motivation from anywhere you can get it. And in my case, there were, a number of the people who I felt were saying I like couldn't do a thing, and what are you going to do? Are you going to let them be right, or are you going to try to prove them wrong? That's really all that it was. But yeah, like
Yeah.
so this is my dumbest thing is when I tried to do my first basketball book, Basketball and Other Things. I told some people about it, and there were 4 people who told me this is a terrible idea and nobody's going to buy this. And if somebody does, like a publisher does buy this, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like saved those emails because these were people who I'm like, I worked alongside other writers like this sort of thing, and I saved those emails, and then I pitched the book and I sold it, and then it came out, and that was the first one I did that was number 1 on the bestseller list. And so when it got announced it was number 1 on the bestseller list, I took that and then I emailed it to them, and I'm like, hey, remember this? And then now every single like time a good thing has happened, it's become like a joke at this point that I just will email those 4 people and be like, remember when you told me I couldn't? And yeah, that's all that it is.
But Shay, but wait a minute, man. Hold it, man. I got to get some insight here because I told you, I've completed a book. Now, I wrote the book with Charlie Rosen. I don't know if you're familiar with Charlie. He's written some books with Phil Jackson, a bunch of sports books. Different subject matter. Did one with Ray Scott, the first black coach in the NBA in black and white. That's really good. That's how I got to know Charlie. So we wrote a book together about Crenshaw High School and kind of trying to put a finger on the Crenshaw mystique. Why is this Crenshaw name so iconic between Nipsey Hussle and the Marathon clothing brand and showing up in the TV show Brandy, the movie
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. But Charlie died. Charlie died like a month ago, man. He passed away. He'd been sick for a while. So I've been doing the heavy lifting for the last year, the interviews and transcribing and all that. Man, what's the key, man? What's the key? I know the material has to be right on point, but how do you help make that material right on point? And how do you I'm not trying to be number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list, man. I'm just trying to get this bad boy published. I got a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to talk to somebody. But what for you, if you could give writers, aspiring writers, some advice on just, in terms of what you found to be successful in terms of your approach to writing?
I think the general advice I try to give anybody who is working on something like this, be it an article or a book, are number 1, you got to be writing about something that you care about, which obviously you are. You're done. That's a check because the reader can feel that.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've got a stack of books all around. Here's a book. This is called Dream by Miriam Fader, and like I could tell when I was reading this book that she cares about Hakeem Olajuwon as like a figure in basketball and in the culture, and like I could feel it. Here's a Chris Herring's book, Blood in the Garden. You read this book and you could feel he loves the Knicks. He loves the Knicks. The Macro Phenomenal Pro Basketball Almanac by the Free Darko guys. Like you read this and you could feel they love basketball. They love it. So you have that part. You're done there, right? You want to do that. Another thing that you want to do is you want to tell some stories that only you can tell, which you're obviously very good at. This is why you're doing that part here. And then like a good piece of writing advice that I got really early on was everything that you're writing, there needs to be like a point to it, a purpose to it, right? Why am I telling this particular story? Why am I talking about this particular thing? And every sentence that you write should help the reader arrive to that conclusion by the end of it. And if it doesn't, then you get it out of there. Even if it's a sentence you love, oh, this is such a cool phrase that I came up with right here. If it's not helping the reader get somewhere, then you got to get out of there. And then beyond that, you want to stay away from cliches. All of your favorite writers are writers who figured out a new way to say something. Charlie was great at this. This is why he made his name, because he was always going to have a thing in a piece where you're like, I've never heard it described that way before. I was reading a thing about Steve Nash one time years ago, and they described him in the offense as they were playing a team that was like packing everything in, and the writer described him as like a hummingbird inside of a sandwich bag, and I was like, that's such a cool, like I get a picture in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to stay away from cliches, and if you do those sorts of things, you stay away from cliches. You write sentences that help a writer arrive at a point. You write about something you care about, and you're telling a thing that only you can tell. Then the book will be good, and that's really all you can control.
Yeah, and so here's an example. and I want to get your opinion on this, and you chime in too, Kris. But so there's one player that we wrote about who spent some time in prison, and this player, when I interviewed him on my own, he talked about how it wasn't that bad. He's from Crenshaw, knew a lot of people there. The head guard was his best friend's brother, hooked him up, and it wasn't that bad. So when I transcribed that interview, I left that in there. Charlie changed it around to it was the worst experience of my life. And when I asked Charlie, I was like, man, why'd you? Well, I don't think people want to hear that. This guy goes to prison and it wasn't punitive. It was but so I mean, how much artistic licensing do you try and keep it as true to factual as possible, or you tell me. You know where I'm going with this, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you keep it as factual as you can. So in this case, this guy explaining that prison wasn't that bad for him is immediately interesting to me. I want to know why it wasn't that bad.
Right.
What was in place? You're mentioning that the guard was the brother of his best friend. That's how often does that happen? You know what I mean? That's very tell me more about that. What other systems did you have in place that made it not the worst experience of your life? Because so many people have said this is the worst experience of my life. If you have a guy who's saying, hey, kind of wasn't that bad. Immediately I'm curious about why that wasn't the case. And then now that's what I want to read.
Well, and what's interesting too is that I spoke with Darryl Strawberry yesterday, and I've interviewed him a couple of times. And so, he spent some time at the Gainesville Correctional Institute down in Florida, 11 months of an 18-month sentence for parole violations based on just problems with drug addiction. And Darryl was kind of the same way. I was like, man, you get tested with guys, just trying to try you and all that. He's like, no, Mark, it was cool. I mean, everybody respected, because of who I was, what I accomplished as a baseball player. And they just let me be me, a couple of tense moments, but for the most part, it was just, so that's just, I always want to know what jail is like, because I couldn't hold up. I'd have been in my cot crying. Lord, please, President Trump, commute my sentence, please.
Shea, I was curious about just creative risks. Since we're on this topic of taking, talking about, this Charlie Rosen thing, do we leave it in? Do we leave it out? I'm curious about you in your works. If you took a creative risk that you were kind of unsure about, before you did it, but later on down the road, it kind of paid off for you. Was there ever a moment you had during your writing some of your books?
Yeah, a bunch of them. If the pursuit is to try to write something that hasn't been written before, you got to take some chances, and sometimes they don't work out, sometimes they do, but that's sort of, it's no different than if you're playing basketball. You're going to miss some shots, you get them, but you want to get them up there. And so if I try to think of a few, obviously the Basketball and Other Things book, writing it the way that I did, where it's all right, in this book every chapter is going to be a different type of basketball question that needs to be answered, what we went into it there. It's okay, cool. But now we got to figure out, it would have been very easy to be okay, cool, here are the chapters. Is LeBron better than Jordan? Was Magic better than Larry? You can do that and people will buy that. And there's a baked in sort of success because people are interested in that conversation. But what happens if you do stuff that's not that, right? Now you're taking a slightly bigger risk because maybe people aren't going to be interested in it at all. Same thing with expensive basketball. There's a chapter in there about Michael Jordan, right? And we could have picked any number of incredible Michael Jordan moments that made you feel something, anything, right? The Game 6 layup, steal, jumper to end his career with the Bulls, or his when he comes back with the Wizards and somehow is still incredible, or whatever, the dunk contest. You could have picked any of them. And then the thing that I ended up doing, which I thought which is a very I don't know if people are going to like it or hate it, but the chapter there is all about how there are so many like connections between him and the number 6 that you don't even like. The more that I researched, the more stuff started to pop up. Obviously, like he won 6 championships and he won 6 finals MVPs. Like those ones are easy. But also like his last name, Jordan, has 6 letters in it. His height, he's 6'6". Scottie Pippen's most famous teammate is, or Michael Jordan's most famous teammate is Scottie Pippen. Is 33. 3 plus 3 is 6. Like there were just so many like
George
things
the
like
devil.
that.
So George the
Damien. Oh man. Ooh.
George the Antichrist.
6,
Yeah,
6,
like-
7.
Like he scored
Know what we're
50 or
saying?
more points 33 times in his career. 3 plus 3 is 6. Like it was just so much stuff like that. So I wrote that chapter and I was like, this is what I want like my Jordan chapter to be,
Oh boy.
because I haven't seen that anywhere else. And like we'll see if people like it or they don't. But you know,
So you're saying that Jordan's like Joe Hardy and damn Yankees. There's a Mr. Applegate in his life where he's got to make his
yeah,
house
there's
get
something
there's something's
like it's
going on. It's
There's
crazy.
so much stuff. Here's one. If you look at his final All-Star game, Marcus, you talked about your final All-Star game. We look at Jordan's final All-Star game. He was not selected as a starter. It was the only time. And when that happened, Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady were both like, "Here, take my spot. You can have my spot." And he said, "No, I don't want to do that. No, thank you." He turned him down. But eventually, he did accept an offer to take somebody's starting spot. It was Vince Carter's, right? Not Allen Iverson, not Tracy McGrady. It was Vince Carter. Vince Carter's number, 15. 1 plus 5, 6. Like those sorts of little things are, to me, really it's like interesting to poke around, and I don't know. But again, creatively, you're going to take some risks, and hopefully it works out. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, well, then I'll try something again.
Great. That's good stuff. My favorite George story quickly. He's a rookie. I'm playing with the Clippers. Kris, Shea, I set a flare screen at the elbow on him. He comes in with elbows high, Shea, and catches me with an elbow. So I grabbed him. I was grab. Hey, rookie, watch the elbow. He shook himself loose. Hey, vet, watch the screen. I was like, okay.
yeah.
He wasn't taking crap right off the bat, man, from anybody. So anyway, go ahead, Kris.
I have a favorite Jordan story real quick. So me and MJ, Shea, we're at the grand opening, like the premiere of Hidden Beach Records, which Jill Scott, I think you may be familiar with her. She kind of signed to him, but Michael Jordan was an investor. So we're at the party. MJ's there, Janet Jackson, Mike Tyson, everybody's there. Me and my dad are there as well. We see Mike. So we go over, we chop it up. I have a bunch of cigars and I'm just kind of, hanging out, doing my thing. I'm 20-something years old. I'm in college still. Not exactly the right look. Me and my dad roll up on him. I got my cigar. Jordan sees me, takes the cigar out of my hand before he even says what's up, puts it in his mouth. This is what I do. This is what I do. Then proceeds to light it and walk away. But he walked away.
That's incredible.
It was the funniest. It was the craziest. I'm just sitting there looking like, what the heck just happened? My dad was just like, hey,
that's
man.
incredible.
That's after summer playing at the Jordan. But Kris had played with him at the Jordan Dome all summer when they were shooting Space Jam out in L.A., and he would always pick Kris on his team because Kris could knock down mid-range jump shots, and Mike would always give him the ball. He was kind of like Chris's Paxson or Steve Kerr kind of character in these pickup games out there with Grant Hill and Alonzo Mourning and all these dudes.
That's crazy.
But anyway, man, listen, we gonna keep you all day. I want to talk about these Bucks this season. Your projection in terms of what they have done, the pieces they have brought in. They've gotten younger. They've gotten more athletic. Practices the last week before the season opens have been really, really chippy and spicy, and lot of physical confrontations going on, which the coaches
lot of barking.
A lot of barking going on. But where do you see the Bucks? Everybody's picking the Bucks. I don't think I've seen them higher than between fifth and play-in. But where do you see this iteration of the Bucks finishing?
I mean,
He's busted up.
that feels pretty accurate. Somewhere between fifth and play-in. I think this is shoot. I was doing an interview maybe like 2 or 3 days ago, and they asked me the storylines I was most interested in for this season, and the Bucks are one of them because obviously the Giannis thing. I think we're a year away from it being like a real conversation of is he going to be gone? I think he's here all season, right? I don't think he should leave. I think he should stick around forever. He feels like be Dirk Nowitzki. You know what I mean? Be a beloved, even if it's just one championship. Like that's a championship you're good. You're solid. You're solidified for the rest of your career. You're fine. Don't leave, Giannis. But yeah, it's a younger team. They are, as you mentioned, gaining a reputation pretty quickly for being like kind of mean, which I like, because this is what we saw from Giannis when they won the title. Was he turned into mean Giannis, and all of a sudden he became unstoppable. I'm curious how many more brothers they're going to bring in to put on the roster to try to. Like I don't know what they keep finding these. They keep finding these Antetokounmpos. Like, but yeah, I mean, like, I'm excited about it. Kyle Kuzma. I'm curious to ask y'all how y'all feel about Kyle Kuzma, because that's a very polarizing player.
Well, polarizing. I get it. I mean, I think what's going to happen, and Chris and I have gone back and forth on this, and Chris turned out to be more right than I was on this, at least for the start of the season. It looks like Kyle's going to come off the bench, and I didn't like that only because of Kyle's mindset, his mental state, how that would impact him. But what I've watched in the exhibition season, Shea, is that when Kyle is matched up against second unit fours, forwards coming off the bench playing against, now he's got an advantage, and he's been looking like he has an advantage and playing like he feels like he has an advantage, playing with confidence and getting downhill and pushing it up and playmaking. And the other point, and then Chris, you can jump in. Giannis is going to play 34, 35 minutes, which means you've got about 13, 15 minutes that the Bucks were getting crushed the past couple of seasons with Giannis off the floor. Now in Kyle Kuzma, Taurean Prince, Bobby Portis, the second unit. Cole Anthony has looked great. Ryan Rollins, this second unit now. Man, this second unit, man, right now, they've been crushing the first unit in practice, but they look really good, like they're going to be able to either at least hold the fort or maybe increase the advantage when Giannis is off the court. So I like Kyle. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I think that's a good thing as far as the second unit giving the first unit a hard time, because I'm not sure if it was like that last year, but this year iron sharpens iron. I guess my point about Kuz, we talked to his trainer Clint Parks, and we got some insight onto Kuz's mindset. He sort of has a renewed mindset. He understands last year was unacceptable. He understands that he wasn't in the right type of conditioning to do what was asked of him. And so he spent this entire summer really locking in, Shea, and getting back to what made Kyle Kuzma originally. Getting back to the glass, making the winning plays, the hustle plays, and also understanding the shot diet needs to be refined. So I think he's worked on that. I think he's coming into the season with the right type of mindset. Like, he has a focus. He understands his role off top. Like Doc and him, everybody's locked in on the same page. Doesn't matter if he starts. Doesn't matter if he plays the 3 to 4, whatever. He's just locked in to help the Bucks win. I think that's where he's at with it.
Yeah, and to add one more point, Myles Turner, Shea, has one of the highest IQs of a basketball player that I've seen in a while. And I say that in the context of him knowing exactly when to sacrifice himself, when to make that delayed cut to draw a couple of defenders or open up a corner three. I mean, Eric Name of The Athletic pointed it out video-wise when he was reviewing one of the games. But Myles Turner's cerebral approach to basketball. I interviewed him after the game. He talked about. I said the biggest adjustment playing with Giannis. Well, I gotta adjust my shot profile. I had to go look up. Like, what the hell? But that's his approach. I mean, and I'm just being facetious with that. But he knows he's got to change certain elements of his game, and he's got to give himself up. And Giannis even mentioned that he sacrifices himself so everybody else can get open shots. That kind of mindset, man, goes a long way in terms of chemistry and team success.
It's really rare. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
No, it's really rare to have a big that size with that type of mobility and athleticism, that cerebral, meaning, Turner does a bunch of stuff offensively, like that's not like direct action stuff. He's doing stuff off ball. He's doing stuff to get guys open. He understands spacing. He's like constantly in a state of like motion and doing stuff to put himself or somebody on his squad in a better position. So that's kind of, it's great that we got a guy that's younger than Brook, but also a guy that has similar skill set, but also a motor offensively that Brook just didn't have anymore.
And thinking ahead of the play, staying ahead of the play. Wherever the play is, I'm thinking I'm in like, I'm a half a play ahead of this action that's taking place, and that's a good thing. But go ahead, Shea.
Yeah, I was really surprised when he got out of Indy. It didn't make any sense to me. Like why you, number one, why you let him go. Number two, why you let him go to the Bucks, who
Of all teams,
like you know, like of all the teams. I remember for so many years there was like an unspoken thing in San Antonio where they were just like, we're not going to do any trades with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Because
Facts.
the Lake, you know what I mean? Like we're just not going to do it.
Facts.
It is like I thought it was the same thing, and then you see he ends up there, which is crazy. I do want to say two things because I keep trying to work them in there, and I haven't figured out a way for like a cool segue to do that, but it hasn't presented itself. So I'm just going to jam it in here now. Two things. Number one, when I was in middle school, I'm 44 years old, right? So middle school is like the mid 90s, and that's when UCLA was like UCLA, you know what I mean? And so I don't know anything about college basketball, but in middle school at Ronald McNair Middle School in San Antonio, Texas, UCLA was the most popular basketball team outside of the Spurs. For some reason, I don't know what it was, but it was like, you remember you had the JanSport backpacks and they had like a leather, like a leather suede thing on the bottom. People would just draw UCLA on there. Like that was a thing that you did. So when I saw I was doing the show, I was like, I got to make sure I mention this because there's my first one. Oh, go ahead.
No, real quick tidbit because I can't let you go. You went to Ronald E. McNair Middle School. So did I in Atlanta, Georgia. Ronald
That's
astronaut?
crazy.
One of the astronauts.
Yeah,
one of the
from
astronauts that passed away on the Challenger
Yeah.
explosion. I went to the same name middle school except one in Atlanta, Shay. That's why I had to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad I didn't say quarterback. But go ahead. So what was the other thing?
The other thing was we have this wall of movies behind me. I'm gonna grab this front facing one right here. Come on. You see what this is here?
Oh, of course.
Come on. The greatest sports movie ever made. The greatest sports movie ever made. The greatest obviously basketball movie. No, not up there. It is. What's a better sports movie than White Man Can't Jump?
Better than Hoosiers, Shay.
It's so much better than Hoosiers. Are you kidding me?
I'll take it. Come on, Norman Dale. Oh no, man.
Here's a. Let me poke a hole in Hoosiers. All right. The easiest possible hole to poke. The whole Hoosiers movie, Gene Hackman is like, pass the ball, team ball, pass the ball, team ball. When the game was on the line, the championship is on the line, he runs an ISO. He's like, get my guy the ball. Everybody get out of the way. No more team ball. No more anything. He holds the ball for 20 seconds and then shoots a contested pull-up two. The worst shot in basketball. No, Hoosiers is not better than White Men Can't Jump.
But did he run that play for the other kid first, and then everybody kind of looks at him like, Coach, but then he's like, what's wrong? You know, then they're like, you know, and that's when Jimmy says, I'll make it, you know, and then he draws up that ISO for Jimmy Chitwood.
Crazy.
But
just abandoned all of his principles immediately.
Speaking of which, and we're gonna this is the final topic we promised here. But we're talking about basketball movies. You said White Men Can't Jump. Give me your Mount Rushmore of basketball movies.
All right, here we go. Mount Rushmore of basketball movies. White Men Can't Jump. Okay. Obvious, easy. The number one. Again, the number one.
Why do you like White Men Can't Jump? Why do you like White Men Can't Jump so much? What is it about White Men Can't Jump that just it resonates with you like it does?
Okay, so the basketball player who made me fall in love with basketball was Reggie Miller, right?
Got it.
Just a trash talking, fearless underdog of a player. I'm 12, 13, 14 years old the first time I see White Men Can't Jump. And the whole movie is them it's the two coolest guys you ever saw, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, talking shit, talking S the whole time to everybody, against themselves included. I had never seen a movie where it was always like you get to the end and the guy gets the girl and that's the like main story. But in this one, you get to the end and you realize this is not a story about Woody Harrelson and Rosie Perez. This is a story about Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, which I thought was just incredible. Like two who are going to be longtime best friends, whatever. The thing of them going around hustling everybody, the betrayal. It was just like, it was all stuff that as a 13-year-old kid in San Antonio, I had never seen before. And I just thought it was so cool. And then you get older and you realize like how smart it is with regard to how it deals with race and all of the like the nuance in the script and the way that it's shot. It's a beautiful, perfect movie. But that, so there you go.
How brothers just want to look good, don't care about it. They just want to look good. Yeah.
People are still having that conversation. Like, that's still happening now.
Rod Shelton was definitely prophetic with that one. But go ahead, man. Okay, White Man Can't Jump.
White Man Can't Jump is on there. I think Above the Rim. You gotta have Above the Rim on there, right? Give me Leon. Lighten up Rucker Park in corduroy pants.
Yeah.
Give me, you know what I mean? Just stepping into the game, no jersey, no shorts, no nothing. Just corduroy pants in a turtleneck or whatever it was.
Former college ball player. He played college ball or something. I think Leon is a legit ball player. Go ahead.
He's incredible. He's incredible. He scores 40 points in 3 minutes, and you're like, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Most ridiculous 40 you'll ever see.
Ever. No fouls, no nothing. Just get out there and fight. All right. White Man Can't Jump, Above the Rim.
Who else?
Give me Love and Basketball. I love Love and Basketball. Right. That final game when they play one-on-one and you think it's going to go one way, and then he dunks on her. Quincy dunks on her. It's like, right? With the Michelle song playing in the background is just beautiful. Also written and directed by a former college player. Like, she knew. We were talking earlier about Tell the Story Only You Could Tell. Only Gina could have written and directed that movie that way, because she knew exactly what all the pieces were. All right. White Man Can't Jump.
One thing about Love and Basketball.
Love and Basketball. Give me one
about,
thing about Love and
college player, Crenshaw High School again. Clippers. A lot of my homies were like, "Man, did you get any money from that?" I was like, "No, that's you and Chris's story." And then Gina was actually at UCLA, right, Chris, when you were there? So I mean, and she gives the inspiration.
Yeah, well,
she goes in
I
other
read
directions.
for it. I think you read for it, and I read for a part. You read for a part as well. So we had an early look at the script. It was a lot of similarities, but at the time, I didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah, I didn't either until all my a bunch of guys were like, "Man, you guys should have got a cut of that whatever money was made." But anyway, so Gina, but she did a tremendous job. Great writer, great director. Gina Blythewood Prince. Let me get her name right. But go ahead. Okay, that's Love and Bats, Annihilate Them. Man.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
Omar Epps. Yeah.
Watching that movie, I thought she had played basketball before, and then I read a bunch of interviews, and she said she never touched a basketball until that movie. Like, she learned all of that stuff.
So I'll tell you, Shea. So for the whole leading up to the movie, she was working out in the men's gym at UCLA. She had a personal trainer. I believe it was a guy that was an assistant coach in the NBA, but we would see her every morning kind of learning the game from the ground up, being taught the fundamentals, how to dribble, how to shoot, how to run. They would be on the side court at the UCLA men's gym. So that's just a little tidbit about her part.
Okay, so we got White Man Can't Jump, Above the Rim, Love and Basketball.
We got one spot left, and there's about 15 movies that could go there. I'm not counting Hoop Dreams, because that's a documentary.
Right.
That's a whole separate thing. That's a work of art, by the way.
But that's one of my favorites. One of my favorite, Arthur Agee and the whole crew.
William Gates,
and it's the older brother. What's the older brother's name that used to be
Curtis?
Curtis, and then the Arthur's buddy that worked with him in the pizza place.
Oh, I forgot.
Shannon.
Radio?
Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead.
There are so many others that we can pick from. Blue Chips, Coach Carter, Hustle, which was really good. Semi-pro if we want a funny movie in there. But for that last spot, you know who I need? You know who I want in there? Who I gotta have every single time? I gotta have him. I gotta have the greatest actor who has ever lived, Denzel Washington, directed by Spike Lee.
Okay.
Opposite Ray Allen, Rosario Dawson, Rick Fox. Jesus Shuttlesworth. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes.
That's a perfect basketball movie. I love the story. I was listening to, I think Spike was on the Bill Simmons podcast, and he was talking about originally the script called for when Denzel and Ray Allen play their final game. Ray Allen's supposed to beat him 11-0 or whatever, but that Denzel scored on accident. He genuinely scored.
Yeah.
Those first 4 shots or whatever he hits, Ray was trying to stop him, and he was so confused what's going on. But that's all Denzel just being a movie star in the moment. talking trash. I'm gonna take an extra lap. That's my favorite actor of all time. I think he's the greatest actor who's ever lived.
Yeah.
But
So
here's
our Denzel story.
There's my
Here's our Denzel story.
You got a Denzel story?
I got one too, Dad.
I want to hear both of them.
This may be the
Come
same
on.
story.
Tell it.
Well, this may be
You
the same
know it's
story.
not.
So Chris is all of 14 years old. I'm taking him up to the Hollywood YMCA at noontime. They got a nice little noontime run. Probably what year was that, Chris? 14, midnight, early 89, 90. So Denzel is there, and Denzel played at Mount Vernon High School with Gus Williams and Ray Williams and Earl Tatum and that whole group. Denzel played at Fordham, coached by P.J. Carlesimo, coached his JV team at Fordham University when he played JV ball there. So Denzel, he fancies himself as a legitimate ball player, and I got no qualms with that. He's cool. So, but him and Chris, Shea, so Chris is this uber strong post-up player. So him and Denzel are going at each other. They're going at each other, bumping and banging, and all of a sudden, Denzel squares up with him. It's like, I'll kick your young ass, little MFer. I'm going to send you home to your mama. And I was like, and I think he knew who he was. So I come up behind Denzel. I was like, he ain't got to go home to his mama. His daddy's right here. He's like, oh, all right, Marcus. All right. Well, look, tell him to lighten up on them elbows or whatever. Anyway, so kind of, it decelerated. But Chris and Denzel Washington were, Chris wasn't backing down. Chris was about to whip Kobe Bryant's behind Kobe's first month out in L.A. when he first came out here as a high schooler. So Chris wasn't backing down to Denzel, and I had to diffuse the situation to get Denzel. And we still laugh about it today. Remember, you was about to kick Chris's ass up at the Hollywood Y when he was like 14 years old.
But the funny thing is, the funny thing about it was it was probably because he was scoring on me or doing what I didn't think he should do, which is probably bust my ass, right? So I'm like, man, I got frustrated and I had a moment. But fast forward now, Shea. The year's 2000. It's the NBA Western Conference Finals, Lakers versus Blazers. I ended up going to the game. My old college coach, Steve Lavin, right? He gives me a call. He's like, hey, you want to go to the playoff game? I'm like, heck yeah. He's like, I got 3 tickets. Okay, I'm like, cool. So it's me, Lav, and his buddy. So we get to the arena and we get the tickets, right? So Lav's got 3 tickets. 2 of them are kind of like 2 rows above courtside. He's got a single that's a courtside seat. So he's like, he calls me Stoney. He's like, Stoney, take the courtside. So I'm like, okay, and I'm just chilling, dude. I take the ticket. I go down to courtside. I'm kind of looking around. I see, who, and lo and behold, who do I pull up on? First person, Denzel and his wife.
That's
so
crazy.
my seat is next to Denzel and his wife. Denzel, his wife's on the other side. I take my seat. We kind of dapping up, talking, laughing and stuff. hey. Then all of a sudden, Shea, I look to my right, and it's lo and behold, it's Salma Hayek and Edward Norton.
Shoot! Shoot!
Yeah, Edward Norton. So I'm sandwiched between Denzel and his wife and Salma Hayek literally for the greatest playoff game I'd ever seen, but it was also one of the biggest moments of cheating that I felt like I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. I don't know if you remember that game, Shea, but the Lakers were down 15, made this crazy comeback, but literally I'm watching Scottie Pippen hack. I'm watching people hack Scottie. They're beating up Steve Smith. They're beating up Rasheed. No call, ref swallowing. That's the one that Kobe threw the lob to Shaq, and then Shaq went crazy and all that.
Yeah.
So that's my Denzel story.
Oh man, some good stuff.
Man. That's a crazy
man.
Only in LA, babe. That's LA, man. That's LA for you.
LA.
That's how we. It's not San Antonio, man. That's LA. That's how we do it.
No, for real. You go to a basketball game. You're sitting next to He Got Game, Desperado, and American History X. Like, that's nuts.
It was crazy. That was crazy.
See, and I go back to the Hemisphere Arena with the baseline bums. See, that's Chris.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
That's the starting lineup. They turned
now
it back
we're
on
talking.
You. Read the newspaper. Who cares? So what? But listen, man.
That's hilarious.
Shea, the baseline bums, Hemisphere Arena. Shea Serrano.
It was great.
Man, I appreciate you stopping by the Here District, man. Continued success. I can't wait to get my copy of this book, Expensive Basketball. It'll be out right around the time we're going to release this pod on October 28th. And continued success. Hopefully this will be New York Times bestseller number 5. If it isn't already, did you get
No doubt. No doubt.
you get pre-sales already to top to bestseller list, or you got to wait to wait for the actual count?
You got to wait for the actual count. Can I do one last thing before we get out of here? Since
Whatever you
y'all
want to do, man.
Yes,
You do
please.
how many last things you want to do, you do, bro. But a quick question: do we count Cooley High and Basketball Diaries as basketball movies? Cornbread Earl and Me. I don't know.
Basketball Diaries.
Basketball Diaries for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Cooley High, Coach Heese with that bogus ass jump shot.
I don't think you can count. I think you can count that one as a basketball movie. That's, yeah.
All right, just curious. But go ahead.
You mentioned Sam Houston. I'm gonna tell you one basketball story from Sam Houston.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you went up there, you saw this or it was the same way. But when I was there, they had the kinesiology center, which is where the basketball courts were. The gym was like that's where you go play. And there were 4 courts inside, indoor courts, all next to each other. Boom, 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 boom. And it was like the worst players were on the far left, and then as you made your way across the courts, the best players were on the far right. So the far right was like the actual college team that was playing. Yeah. They were like out there just, between practices or in the off season. That's where they would go and play. Only on that court. All the worst players on the other side. And so I got there and they explain this to you as though this is like a rule in jail. Like you start here, and then if you win, you can like work your way across. So I started playing on the terrible court, and I did okay. And I was like slowly making my way toward the college court. And I never was like able to get invited to the court until one day, like apparently somebody who was supposed to show up didn't show up, and they needed a player. And so they asked me. I was on the next court. They said, we need a guy. You're just sitting here waiting. You want to play? And I said, okay. This seems like a horrible idea because all of you guys are 6'2" and above. I'm 5'7", but I'll go out there and I'll give it a try. And I'm going out there and I'm trying to do my best, like Reggie Miller talking trash impression. And the game starts and they kick it out to me and I shoot it and it lucks its way in. Boom. One shot.
A three?
A three. I'm not going in the paint. Are you crazy? I go, they pass me the ball. I throw it up there. It drops in. And now you can't tell me nothing. I'm playing against college players. I hit my first shot. You can't tell me nothing. As I'm going around down the court, I'm running my mouth now. I'm letting them know you ain't never seen a Mexican on the court like me. Like I'm doing this whole thing, right? I'm letting them hear it. And literally as I'm talking, I turn around and it was a guy. His name was Felton Freeman. Right? Okay. He's like 6'5", 6'6", or whatever. Yeah. I turn around and he is charging at me full speed. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I just standing there and he jumps. I felt like he jumped from half court. Couldn't have been half court, but it felt like that. And he jumped and he just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And all of a sudden I'm like under the rim and he's boom, like a big, loud, I fall backwards like fucking Chris Dudley or whatever. And I was like, this is why I don't want to play with you. Playing against college basketball players it's like another planet that you're on. It's not the same. Got buckets. I got one bucket and then I was like, I quit. I'm at it. I didn't even finish the game. I was like, screw you guys. I'm going home. Because they're just laughing.
Okay, so I got to end with a couple of stories. The first one, you reminded me, we talked about the Mexican basketball player. So I'm coaching the Belize national team 2010, same year John Wooden died, down in Belize, down there 2 months, training camp, the whole deal. First chance to really coach on that level, playing in an Olympic qualifying event for teams in Central America. So we're playing this team from Mexico, and they're kicking our butt. I got NBA guys, the former NBA guys, Milt Palacio, some other guys that had a cup of coffee in the NBA. And so at halftime, I'm like, you guys are letting a bunch of Mexicans kick you behind like that?
Wow.
I said, you get your butts kicked by a bunch of Mexicans. Mexicans ain't supposed to be outplayed. You guys are from L.A. and Compton and all this bull crap, and these Mexicans. But it turns out that one of the Mexicans was a kid by the name of Gustavo Ayan, who was actually on the New Orleans Hornets roster that next season. He was 6'9". He was killing. He was killing, but I didn't know. He was killing it. The other quick story, Reggie Miller. You talk about Reggie Miller. So Reggie Miller, Chris, he's an incoming freshman. Nobody really seen him. We didn't have the social media and all the stuff that they have today. But here's this skinny kid with this big head, but he was really skinny back then. And so nobody would pick him on their team. The first couple of runs, just a bunch of just pros and NBA established vets out there. And so finally, somebody tells me like, that's Reggie Miller. That's Cheryl's brother. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's coming here, right? Yeah, okay. So I go up to him and say, man, what's your name, man? He's like, I'm Reggie Miller. I said, oh, right. I said, now, are you any good? He's like, yeah. I said, are you better than your sister? He's like, yeah. I said, no, I'm just messing with you, man. I got you on my team next. I got you. And he went out there. I said, yeah, are you better than your sister? He's like,
That's
yeah.
cold, man.
He's like,
That's cold-blooded.
Yeah. I'm a lot better. I was like, okay, I got you. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. But he went out there and turned it out, man. You could see right away his toughness, his shooting, his
awesome.
knack for the game. You just knew he was going to be a great player. So anyway, man, listen, Shea, we're going to let you go, man. Appreciate you coming by here, District. Please come back during the course of the season. We love having you. And again, much success on the new book coming out, Expensive Basketball, right, is the title of it.
Correct.
And, man, we'll be looking forward and want to see it on that New York Times bestseller list. So, Shea Serrano,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much. Here, District. Thank you, Shea Serrano.